I'm Chef Frank, this is Protocooks, and today we're making pad thai. I want to take a minute here to remind you, like and subscribe. And as always, the recipe's in the description down below. Pad thai, classic Thai noodle dish. Everyone thinks that it's super difficult to make and that I can never do this at home. But what I want to try and do today is prove to you you can make it at home. You need to have some specialty ingredients. I'll go through those specialty ingredients and good substitutes. I'll also link where to get these ingredients as well. But what I want to show you today is not as hard as you think, and you can make it at home. Let's talk about the ingredients that you're going to need. Rice noodles, tamarind, bean sprouts, cilantro, scallions, limes, garlic, eggs, roasted peanuts, chicken thighs, shrimp, Savoy cabbage, chili paste, fish sauce, and palm sugar. Before we start prepping and cooking, there's a few ingredients I want to talk about that are kind of specialty ingredients that need a little preparation or explanation. You're going to want some sort of chili paste. In the past, I've used a Thai red curry paste. You know, you might get a lot of arguments about that. It works pretty good. One thing I like to use is just this chili garlic sauce. It works really well. It gives a little spice and it gives a lot of flavors. Most pad thai has some sort of sweetener in it. Classically, it's palm sugar. So this is just sugar from coconut palms. And it's really delicious. It comes in this pack. It has a little wax seal so it doesn't dry out. You got to take the wax out. That's what I'm going to use today. But if you can't find palm sugar, you can use just light brown sugar. The difference is that this has more of a molasses flavor. And I find like the palm sugar has a little bit more of like a licoricey-like flavor, an anise type flavor. And it's a subtle difference, but if you can find the palm sugar, use the palm sugar. Savoy cabbage. This is a cross between Napa and regular cabbage. If you can't get Savoy, use Napa cabbage or regular green cabbage. This just has nice ruffles. It's a little lighter, but some sort of cabbage in there is great for texture and flavor. This is how I cut my cabbage. I usually go from the bottom where the core is, or the root, and I cut it straight through. For this, I don't need the whole head. I cut the core out with my knife. Get rid of the core, we don't need it. And there's two ways you can do this easily. You can use a mandolin. I have a mandolin, and I like my cabbage to be super, super fine. So you can run it over the mandolin, but I know that everyone doesn't have one. So what I like to do in that case is just get a knife and practice my knife skills. Get it as thin as possible. Nice and shaved and thin. That's what I want. Okay, so super thin shaved cabbage. Another ingredient we're gonna use is tamarind. Tamarind is a super interesting ingredient. It's super sour. It grows, it looks like a big green bean, but it's brown. It has kind of a papery husk, and the interior is kind of chewy. So this is gonna be a good souring agent for us. This dish has sweet, salty, sour, spicy. It hits a lot of different parts of your tongue. And I feel like this is an integral part to the dish. If you can't find tamarind paste, although you can probably find it online fairly easily, just use lime juice instead. There are two forms that tamarind normally come in. The brick form like this that you have to process, and then like a concentrate or a liquid. The liquid's much easier to use, but I have the brick, so that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna just take it out of the pack. And what you have to do is boil this in water. Look at that. So it's like this like super firm brick. You see how like firm it is? We're gonna take this brick, drop it in some water, and I'm just gonna let it simmer until this starts to break apart. Get a spoon in there, break it apart. Let it simmer for about a half hour, and then I'm just gonna strain all the pulp and the seeds out. We put the brick of tamarind in with the water, and now I'm just breaking it up to try and get all the pulp released. Just break it up, and I'm gonna let it simmer for a few minutes just so it softens up, and then I'll strain all this stuff out, and the juice that we have will be that tamarind concentrate I was talking about. The tamarind's totally hydrated. I'm just gonna put this into a fine mesh sieve. Make sure to get it everywhere. It's gonna splash, be careful. What's great about tamarind at this stage is it's not just for Thai food. You can use it for Mexican cooking as well. Agua fresca, you can make a drink out of it. So I'm just gonna press this through, try and get as much pulp through that I can. It smells delicious. So as it comes through, you scrape off all the pulp. So you want the juice and the pulp in there, okay? And that's it. That is our tamarind. Look at that, it's nice and smooth. Just mix in the liquid and the pulp and you're good to go. Fish sauce. Love it or hate it, it's a big part of this dish. Fish sauce by itself, you're not gonna eat it. It's kind of stinky, it's kind of salty, and a lot of people think it's kind of gross by itself, but I feel like fish sauce is something you need to have for this dish. It gives a really great kind of salty flavor. It gives it a little bit of a seafood background, and it gives that like nice umami, like that sixth flavor. You need to have fish sauce. If you don't like it, use a little less. If you do like it, use a little more. But I always find that a good pad thai has a little bit of funk to it from fish sauce. The rice noodles do get cooked in this dish, but they're not cooked in boiling water. What I like to do is soak them first, and then you put them in the stir fry and they soak up all the juice. So I just open the bag. I'm not gonna use the whole bag. I'm only making like 2 or 3 portions. So I find that a half a bag is usually good for that. And then I'm just gonna soak them for about 20 minutes to a half hour in warm water. Peanuts are used for a garnish for this dish. If you don't like peanuts or you have someone with allergies, you can omit them altogether. I do like the crunch and the flavor of peanuts on top of this dish. So what I'm gonna do is I just have some roasted salted peanuts that I bought. I put them onto a flat dish and I just use my container to crush. So I just want these crushed. I don't really chop them. I kind of feel like chopping is just too hard. And I like to do things fairly simple. And that's our garnish. I'm gonna use scallions for my pad thai. I'm gonna put a little in the stir fry, and I'm gonna use the greens for garnish. Most people, when they use scallions, cut the middle and they throw one side out. I don't know why. Usually when I do scallions, I just take off the root end, right? I save the greens for garnish, and I'm gonna show you how we cut those in a minute. Any kind of dry tops, I take off. This I'm gonna use in the dish, in the stir fry part. And I'm just gonna cut that as fine as I can. So cut that. That's gonna be in the stir fry. And then I have the greens. Classically, you'd probably see them using garlic chives for this. I couldn't find any garlic chives, so I'm just gonna use the greens of scallions. And I'm just gonna do like a nice long bias cut on this, right? I'll toss this in at the end so that we get some of that nice scallion flavor and some of the color from it as well. That's it. Gotta have some garlic. I'm gonna chop it. I got 2 nice sized cloves here. I usually just give it a little whack there. And then I'm gonna just chop this fairly fine. I like to use chicken thighs in my pad thai. I'm not sure if it's 100% authentic, but I think they have good flavor and good texture. So if you know what's authentic in this, give me a heads up. All I do with the thighs is cube them up. They're like nice sized cubes. We're stir frying in a wok, so I want these to be small so they cook quickly. I'm gonna show you my technique with the shrimp. I buy these peeled already, but they have the little tails on them. So I like to take the little tails off. So what I like to do with these is I take them, I lay them on the side, and then I'm just gonna cut them in half, right? Not only does this help me take the vein out, right? It also, when you cook them, they kind of curl up really nice. So you get this really nice little curl. Instead of just nuggets of shrimp, they kind of intertwine with the noodles. So that's what I do with these. See, so there's a little bit of vein in there. We get that out. And that's how I do my shrimp for this. Now we're gonna make the sauce. This is the key to my success with this recipe. The sauce is not a dipping sauce. It's the sauce that you pour into the pad thai. Get this right and your pad thai is gonna come out beautiful every single time. So what I like to do is balance the flavors. I have sour tamarind, stinky and salty fish sauce, sweet palm sugar, and chili sauce. So I'm gonna mix all these together so that I get a nice homogeneous flavor. A lot of recipes, they'll say put these in individually, but I like to make my base sauce. You're gonna think that this sauce is too strong to go into your pad thai. Oh, it's too much fish sauce, it's too strong, it's too sweet. Just trust me on this one. Getting this right makes your pad thai beautiful. In my cup, I have the tamarind that I made earlier. I'm gonna just throw in the chili sauce. My palm sugar goes in. And then my fish sauce goes in. All right? It looks like a lot, but like I said, it's gonna be beautiful. Now you just wanna whisk this together and bring it all together. Make sure the sugar gets totally dissolved and broken up. And like I said, it's gonna be strong, but that's okay. I'm cooking my pad thai in a wok. If you don't have one, you can use a saute pan, but I suggest a wok. A wok gives things a unique flavor. I think it's called wok hei. Correct me if I'm wrong. My pronunciation sometimes is not right. But I think that you should go out and invest one of these. They're not that expensive and they're great to have around. I've gathered all my ingredients, right? When you do this dish, you need to have everything within arm's reach. When you cook in a wok, it's extremely quick cooking. So this dish is a lot on the prep side, but once you start cooking, it's done in minutes. So what do we call having everything we need in front of us? Mise en place, right. So get your mise en place together, gather everything you need. I have my spatula, vegetable oil. I also have a little bit of water in case this needs a little more moisture. I have a container that I'm gonna collect things in. And then I have all of my ingredients on this side. So let's start cooking. A couple of things you need to know about wok cooking is I never lower my heat. The way that I lower my heat is I take it off and on, right? Because you want to cook on high heat the whole time. You never want it more than a third full when you're stir frying, right? Once you're done stir frying, you could fill it up. So the first thing I'm gonna do is swirl my oil around, and I'm gonna do like an omelet. I have my 3 eggs here. I'm gonna put them in, and I'm just going to kind of like let them come together, right? Leaving my heat on high the whole time. I'm gonna let my eggs cook fully. And then I have that dish on the side here. Then I'm basically collecting all of my ingredients, right? Because a lot of these ingredients need to be part cooked. Because once you mix them together with the noodles, they're not gonna have time to cook, especially the shrimp and the chicken, right? I'm gonna let my wok get hot again. I want this to be smoking. And then I'm gonna add my chicken. Now, chicken's gonna take a little longer than the egg. I want this to be 90% cooked when I put it back into my noodles. So the chicken goes in. I'm gonna just kind of spread it out and let it cook, all right? Let's give it a little bit of a stir. And again, I want this to be about 90% cooked. All right, the chicken's done. Let's put that into our container. I'm putting it with the oil, right into my container. Don't worry about that little chunky stuff on the bottom. That's gonna give us some flavor. Again, another swirl of oil. Let it come to kind of smokiness. We start to see it smoking again. And then we add our shrimp. We don't want our shrimp to cook quite as long as the chicken. We want them to just kind of start turn pink. Because shrimp will get rubbery if you overcook them. So I just give them a little toss here. Once they start to kind of turn pink, they go out into my dish with my chicken. This is where this starts to get serious. I'm gonna add some oil, right? I'm adding my scallions and garlic at this point. These are my aromatic vegetables. And we're just gonna get those fragrant. Again, I'm not taking anything off the heat. Once they start to get fragrant, the cabbage goes in, right? And I just want to get my cabbage until it starts to stir fry and gets a little soft. If I need a little more oil, just a little more oil. And I have my bean sprouts, which are going to go in now. Nice, look at that. Again, I haven't taken it off the heat. Right? Everything back in the pool. Break up my egg. My noodles can go in now, and we're kind of done stir frying. And now we're just gonna cook our noodles and get the sauce in there. Gonna give this a little bit of a toss. Try and mix everything up. And I'm gonna add my sauce. I might not need it all. I'm gonna add about half right now, or about, 2/3 of it. Basically, at this point, we're just coating the noodles with sauce and cooking the noodles. Okay, I'm gonna add it all. I was kidding. I'm gonna add it all. Right? I'm gonna take a little bit of my water, rinse that out, cooking the noodles. right? If it's a little saucy, that's fine. The noodles at this point are gonna start soaking up all that liquid, and we want them to cook, right? They're a little like raw right now, right? So we want them to pick up all those flavors. Okay, so I'm gonna let this simmer. I am gonna add a little salt. Not super common, but I always feel like it needs a little salt. I'm gonna let this cook until most of the liquid is absorbed. So what I'm looking for now is that most of my liquid is absorbed by the noodles. They're starting to sizzle just a little, just a touch more oil. I'm gonna add some of my scallions, my green scallions in there right now. I'm gonna give it a toss and we're gonna plate this up and taste it. Okay, let's plate it up and give it a taste. So I like the fact that my noodles didn't totally break up. They're still a little long. Put this on a plate. This will feed about 3 or 4 people, I'm sure. I'm going to take a little more of my scallions, some of my chopped peanuts on top, right? Just remember, when it comes to your sauce or your master sauce that you're using, you can add more chili, you can add more of anything you want, right? And then a little bit of cilantro on top. And that's it. That's my pad thai. All right, it's time to taste. I'm gonna hit mine with just a little bit of the lime on top, okay? I have my Star Wars tasting spoon that I'm gonna get a piece of chicken with. And then I'm gonna get in there and taste the noodles. And we get a piece of shrimp too. Sweet, sour, a little salty, and a little spicy. It's all those kind of things coming together in one dish. If you've never made this at home, take the time and do it. It's absolutely delicious. Give it a try. And that's my pad thai. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give us a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Hit the little bell to get notified when we have a new video out. We have merch in the link down below. We also have a P.O. box. And I'd like to thank my Patreon sponsors. Thank you for your support. That's it, pad thai. I'm Chef Frank. This is Protocooks. Have a good one.